Right, good morning. It's Andy Picking from Royal Wellness at Chesterfield Royal here, and it's very pleased to welcome Arlene Honeyman from Ashgate Hospice. Hello, Arlene.
Hello, hi.
And really what today's session about is just to go through some of the huddle training that we've been doing, the resources around huddles. So first of all, just introduce yourself, Arlene, and Ashgate Hospice, and then we'll get on to doing a brief guide on what are huddles and how they can benefit us.
Sure. Okay, so my name, as you said, is Arlene Honeyman, and I work at Ashgate Hospice Care. We're based in Chesterfield, but the hospice covers North Derbyshire, and we provide specialist palliative care for people and their families in North Derbyshire, and also bereavement support for people afterwards. One of the things that we've been looking at as an organisation is how we support each other to reflect and to stay well and to stay resilient in our role. And that's something that's obviously not just for us, that's something that's right across the sector and right across the system is really important, particularly at these times. So for the last year or so, we've been developing huddles and reflective practice and supervision practices that really come together to support us as an organisation, as individuals there, from a very sort of light touch way, self-help way, right through to sort of more in-depth reflection and allowing us space to unpick things that maybe get in the way and block our practice and actually just maybe disturb us a little bit, not help us to just keep going well and healthily. And through the whole process, then we are able to keep going and to provide the best care we possibly can. So that's something that we've been speaking across with the Royal. We first got involved with you guys in the summer when the first lockdown, when that came, and teams of my staff came over and supported with facilitated peer support groups, and that's how we first got involved and then started to think about how we could work together a bit more widely in support. So my background is in counselling and social work and community development, and I lead a team at Ashgate in those sorts of areas.
Brilliant. And I know we have a lot of extended support, don't we, around counselling services if needed, the reflective practice piece, virtual wobble rooms as well that can all be found on the internet here at the Royal. So in terms of a huddle, so when we're talking light touch approach, it's something that any team can do. There's some parameters that a facilitator would operate within, but it's not a really formal debrief reliving events. It's almost a loose format just to help with going through some of the challenges of the day, something you're looking forward to. And there's a little bit of theory behind what a huddle is. So describe what a huddle is and a typical huddle, if there's such a thing.
Okay. Well, a huddle is something that we would encourage people to get in and start huddling 2-3 times a week. Sometimes people huddle daily, which is fantastic. If you can do that and you're able to do that, then do. We would say probably 3 people as a minimum, and I would definitely say maybe 5 or 6 as a maximum. If you go above that, it will just take longer, and then you're more likely not to huddle because you'll get frustrated with the time constraints. So it's a really simple process, and what we're aiming to do is talk about the events of the day. So facilitator is basically holding the space for people and just making sure one person can speak at a time as you go through, and everybody else is there to support and listen and encourage, but not to provide answers and not to solve problems, not those sorts of things. So because we do that in everyday life, that's kind of what we do a lot in our communication. So for huddle, it's just to give you a little bit of space just to process and think about what's gone on in your day. So very factual listing through. Everybody gets a turn, facilitator included, to do that. The second thing we do then is once everybody's had a go, is the facilitator goes round and asks people if there's been anything that's challenged them in the day. And so people get an opportunity then to talk about things that might have been there and might just be irritating, and they might go home otherwise with and ruminate on them, and they just might not get resolved in their minds. So it gives an opportunity to actually get them out and be talked through. Then the final thing that we do is we finish off on a high, and we talk about individually, again going round, something that's been positive, that's happened that we can celebrate in the day. And some days doesn't feel like there's very much to celebrate. So if that's the case for anybody, then we actually encourage each person to think about something that they're going to look forward to. We keep all of these things personal. We don't let people go on to big statements about grand, things out there for others, because the whole point of this process is to help us work through our day and help our mind be clear. It's almost like I often liken it to if you've got washing that you've taken out the tumble dryer, you've gone through the wash process. So that's kind of what you're doing when you're talking through the day. You're kind of listing all the things that happened, worked it through. So that's the first part of the cycle. Then when you're actually going through the challenges, I mean, that's getting rid of the mud, the dirt, getting rid of all that kind of stuff that's in there. And then when you're going through the final one of actually talking through the positive stuff and things through there, that's when you're actually folding it neatly and thinking and getting your mindset in a positive frame of what to look forward to next. So you've taken all of those thoughts that are in the mind that might be a bit jumbled up, that might just kind of get stuck there in a pile, and you're helping to fit them back in neatly into the cupboard in our mind so that they go away and they're stored safely and they're not going to pop out and come back and make you feel traumatized or trigger you into a reaction rather than being able to be free to respond. So it's very, very light touch, and it's something that people can do together. So obviously if things are going on and people do feel that they're getting triggered into, oh my goodness, this keeps coming for me, and they see a pattern happening, then that's when we would say that's a next step to work on for increased support. And if you're doing this daily, then you're more likely to actually see that with the support of a few people that you get into the habit of huddling with. It's a lovely confidential space. Stuff stays in there with the group that's huddling together, unless each of you give permission for anything to be shared if you think it needs to be worked on. So it's just a really nice way of staying well, and it's good connections as well. Helps you really connect well to people you know.
And I love the analogy as well, the washing analogy. I really like that one. So in terms of the facilitator, then how they keep it on track. So they will start off with that structure. And indeed, after this video, there's the mock huddle that you did with a couple of the team yesterday. And I noticed, Arlene, you steered me back on track a little bit with your facilitator skills. And I suppose that's something that people will learn. So please do look at that mock video that we will share across the trust so you can see how it's run. So the benefits to the individual, I'm guessing, are an outlet, and in some ways stopping in a cumulative effect of a lot of things happening over a period of time that may affect our resilience long term and come to a more crisis point or a level of intervention, a step up from huddle. So it being regular within the team culturally, and you get used to it, I suppose. Maybe when you attend your first huddle, it may feel a little bit strange if you've never done one before, but as you get into it, it's that opportunity and platform that huddle offers just to release some of those challenges and refocus the mind on what you're looking forward to. I like the positive end to a huddle, which is crucial.
It's really lovely. And the word vent is used quite a lot as well. And it's a safe place. You know, if something's been challenging you, it's a safe place to just kind of go and let it out and let it go. And then you can let it go and work through. And that's the whole point of facilitator as well, being there and actually helping somebody to do that. Because we are social beings. That's the way we're made. So it's much better when you've actually said something out. Even the speaking out in itself is a really good way of helping us to process that, you know, physiologically there's stuff that happens with us and helps us in that whole
I've got frozen in my head right now as well with let it go. When you said that phrase, it was spinning around my head then. So yeah, that sounds really good. And I suppose from a facilitator's point of view, it isn't a difficult thing to do. It's being mindful that these are a sort of little structure to it, and, you know, discussing the challenges, ending on a positive note and allowing people to process things. But as a facilitator point of view, once they've listened to this video and seen the mock huddle you did, we'll get a real idea of how they help steer that huddle, if you like. But it's for everybody's input, and that's important, the listening bit.
Yeah, definitely. And the facilitator too. I think that's really important, that they're not actually step back, that they take their turn. And it's so simple. I always say to people when I'm doing this, it's like 1, 2, 3. Talk about the day's events, talk about anything that's challenging, and then talk about something that's gone well or something you're looking forward to. The other thing as well that we would say that's in the training, that the little bit of training we do, and which is not a huge piece, but it just helps people with tips like, if somebody doesn't want to speak, if they just want to come along for a cup of coffee that time, then that's fine. That's absolutely fine. People contribute what they feel able to, because sometimes people are just so full up that is they don't trust themselves to actually speak at that things. Sometimes being there, you will find towards the end of the thing, I would always encourage somebody to actually say something they're looking forward to if they haven't been able to contribute in other sorts of ways and the thing. But sometimes just being there helps to normalise, helps to just level things off for people.
And it's interesting, isn't it, that with these things, there's not a wrong answer. You know, when we came across what you're looking forward to in yesterday's mock huddle session, you know, it was different from every person, which shows the diversity of how we all have as downtime and hobbies and activities, whether it's walking a dog or having a bath or switching off, reading a book, whatever it is. You know, it's always going to be different, and people can learn from each other, can't they?
They can. And I don't know how it felt for you, Andy, yesterday, but I know when I was listening to each of you actually talking about the things you were looking forward to, I got a buzz out of that as well. It really lifted me. And like,
the sunlight one for me, you know, so somebody mentioned the sun, and it's something so basic, but I always, you know, and I thought that yesterday, but it didn't automatically spring to my mind. And when the lady mentioned it, I thought to myself, oh, that's a really good one actually, because I thought that as well. What a lovely morning to start with the sun.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing as well. Where it's lovely just actually to listen to other people, because it just helps you to reflect and sort of go, oh yeah, it's just a nice feel good.
Yeah, it just takes you back, doesn't it? It takes you maybe out of a place where you know, maybe feeling a bit negative with the challenges, and it just takes you out of that, doesn't it? Refocuses it on something nice, and like you were saying, just allows you just to release some stuff maybe. So is there anything else then? We've whipped through it. We've kept it pretty short because a huddle is simple, but because it's simple doesn't mean it's effective. I think that's probably a message with it. It's a highly powerful tool that can be used.
It really, really is. I mean, people that I know through the past year that have been huddling across at Ashgate. Actually, I heard this morning that people that are having to go back into furlough are still actually going to be huddling together, because they've realised that it's a way for them to stay connected and to keep that communication and that link going and get support and work through. So no matter what your environment, it's actually that putting your life belt on first for yourself, your face mask on first. It's looking after yourself, a bit of self-care when you go out and actually do that. So people also huddle at the beginning of the day. Sometimes people do it at the end of the day. Some people do it part way through. It really doesn't matter. It's actually what works for you and your environment. For some people, it's 5 or 10 minutes. For some people, they've got a bit longer, and it's 15 minutes. For some people, it's 2 people meeting together and having a cup of tea, or 3 people having a cup of tea. I know I said 3 is best, and it is good, but actually use the technique. Use it wherever you are, just to keep yourself sort of buoyed up.
And that's the take-home message. So, Arlene, thank you very much for your time. It's really appreciated. And I know that Chesterfield Royal will be working with Ashgate Hospice going forward in the longer term. So we look forward to working with you.
We do as well, sincerely.
Thank you, Arlene.
Huddling, folks. You're welcome.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.